go.
You're on.
All right.
That's your cue.
Now?
Now.
All right. So, all right, first is our warm-up circuit. All right, it's called a warm-up, but it's actually pretty tough. I did these earlier with Hillary, and they were burning. So, main thing, we're going to rebuild our glute tuck. All right, I'm not saying rebuild. I'm not assuming you guys haven't been training it. I'm assuming you have been training it. But for those of you who don't have a good glute tuck, we're going to build our glute tuck today with a couple different exercises. So if I say glute tuck for now, just assume it's you trying to crunch your rib cage towards your hips and do your best. All right, I'll try to make it as visual as possible for you. But we have specific exercises to work on glute tuck, and we'll get into those as we go. So first round is going to have push-up holds, 3-position push-up holds. I don't want us to lock our legs out on these. I want us to have a slight bend so we can get into that glute tuck position. But I'll show you, again, that's visual. You should be able to see that. So a 3-position push-up hold from just a neutral position. And then we're going to go into a mobility circuit for our shoulders. The idea is range of motion and time under tension. We have a couple different versions of those. What you're gonna do is actually perform these circuits for 2 rounds each, all right? So you have 2 sets of this first round and then 2 sets of the second round. Then we're gonna go into a core movement to, again, work on our glute tuck, work on our hip flexors, and then you have a posterior chain movement, which is your like glutes, hips, and hamstrings, all right? So work through it, push yourself. Breaks in between are gonna be up to you, all right? So when you're warming up, you might need to take longer breaks, like minute and a half. If you take a minute and a half, you're always gonna have your best effort on everything you're doing for the most part, especially when you're doing body weight. But if it's easy, then take shorter breaks, do more reps. It's up to you. We're gonna build into what's called a perceived exertion scale, but that's not for today. For today, we'll work on that in the future. If you guys know what a perceived exertion scale is, you're looking for a 7-ish when you're finishing this workout today. Warm up, you're trying to look for that like 5 or 6 range. All right, so first position, our first movement is going to be our 3-position push-up hold. The idea is to go from this glute tuck position. So I like to actually start from this kneeling position. So I sit back onto my heels and I load through my calves. So this actually gives me like an Achilles tendon load. And then from there, I'm just crunching my rib cage down. All right, so these have 3 positions. You're gonna hold up to 10 seconds at each position. That gives you a total of 30 seconds, all right? Now, if it's really easy, again, we're not going into anything significantly heavier. We do have like a plyos thing that we're gonna do in our workout today. But if it's not hard by 30 seconds, it's up to you to decide to increase the intensity by holding each position a little bit harder and maybe squeezing the muscles. All of these are about you creating tension in your body without something external. So when you like go and run, you have to start those muscles before you actually take off. So when you're doing your isometrics, especially these like bodyweight movements, it's all about creating tension through the whole body and then moving through those different muscular positions, letting gravity do the rest. All right, so from here, once I've got my glute tuck, so again, this is basically glute tuck. When I'm back on my heels and I crunch my rib cage down, I'm gonna fall forward, hands under my shoulders. I'm in a good push-up position, and then I'm gonna do my 3 sets, at least 10 seconds at each position. So I'm gonna drop my heels towards the ground. All right, glute tuck, quarter, holding for 10, half, holding for 10, and then I'm as low as I can without touching, holding for 10. Now when you do those, at each position, if you need to take a break, take it, all right? So it's scalable up or down. The easier it is, go longer, the harder it is, take breaks as needed, all right? The push-ups will go into our scap movements. So the idea here is we're trying to go through full range of motion through our shoulders. So the idea is the shoulder blade is trying to reach as far towards your ear as it can, and then it's gonna try to reach back towards your spine as far as it can. All right, so we can't really control that by itself. So what's really easy is thinking of our hand. So we're gonna move our hand through this end range and lift our hand up as high as we can. It's all about that shoulder blade. So if you're pulling your hand up and you're twisting your body, or it's not like going through the chest, you don't feel a stretch, you don't feel burned by the spine, then you're missing something with this one. All right, so we're gonna lay flat. We're gonna try to keep that glute tuck a little bit. In the future, we might play with what position our feet are gonna be in, if our toes are gonna be extended or flexed, or if we're gonna be in some different like posture positions. But right now, we're just looking for conditioning through the shoulders. So I'm gonna lay flat. Again, pull your toes up or keep them extended. I wanna keep them up so my toes are dug in. Both hands are gonna be overhead. I'm keeping pressure. Every time my hands are down, they're pushing down. Chin's gonna be tucked, and I'm pulling back and down. So I'm actually using some of these neck muscles, getting some of my deep scale, my neck flexors like scalenes and your SCM, trying to keep everything stable. What I'm gonna do is bring my hand up, thinking about reaching my knuckles to the ceiling, and then this is the shoulder blade pulling down, so the elbow to the hip, back overhead, squeeze the shoulder blade up over my ear, down, creating pressure. Up, reach back and down, elbow to the hip, up, slide the shoulder blade over, down, create pressure. All right, I'm looking for 6 to 8. Again, if it's not tough, add some reps up to 12. Should be pretty tough though. It's all about time under tension. How long can I let gravity pull on my shoulder blades? You'll get your rotator cuffs, you'll get your traps, a little bit of lats, get some core. It'll be fun. So we've talked about glute tuck. This is actually a drill for the glute tuck. You're gonna create a really deep flex position with your core, your like upper back, and then you're gonna practice like a flex position with your hip flexors. So the goal, you've got a couple things you're looking at. There's a reflex that your body works with when your knees cross each other. It's actually deeper into like the actual like tendons and ligaments that are around your hips. But when your knees cross, we have this like reaction, and we want to build that reflex into your glute tuck. All right, so we want to squeeze and create an intent of this like core position. And you feel a stretch in your back. So we feel that stretch in the back. We're going to actually be loading that lumbar, that lower back, with our core, all right? And so then every rep, we're getting that reflex when we cross the knees. It also burns, so you're gonna build a lot of musculature here. But again, focus the intent. This is gonna be your knee cross when you're running, the cross when you're throwing. So try to build some of those feelings as you go through. So I'm taking my hands and placing them just outside the edges of my lower back so that I can pin them down with my back when I crunch. All right, so I can crunch my lower back into my hands, and I should feel my butt kind of elevate off the ground when I do that. If you are new at this, or your core isn't very strong, or you're not really feeling that, I want you to leave everything on the ground and just leave this kind of like elbows down, shoulders back to get stability. It's a little easier to go through the movement. Everyone else, if you can, we're gonna bring our elbows up, and I'm gonna crunch forward, all right? So I'm crunching, pulling my elbows up. I'm gonna keep one leg down so I have some stability, and then I'm gonna straighten my opposite leg. So here, I'm gonna keep that crunch position, and I'm gonna pull my knee to my rib cage. All right, once I feel that tension, I feel that like stretch, this foot's gonna try to come off the ground. I'm gonna keep that tension, and I'm gonna bring my heel back towards the ground. Again, kind of feeling what happens when the knees cross. All right, the knees cross, that means the hips have to shift. And as I'm doing that, all the muscles that have to pull that hip through start activating. And what we're also doing is building that like tonality around the fascia through the core. Fascia. All right, 12 to 15 reps on each side of our. Next up, we have our posterior chain. So that's the back of our body. There's a lot of ways we can work this. Today, we're gonna do some hip bridges. It goes really well with our core during our explosive circuit. So we're gonna go with hip bridges to start. What we're trying to do is lift our hips by our lead leg. So the leg that's in the air is gonna actually drive the hips up. And at the very end, you're gonna flip into your toes, all right? So it's just a hip bridge. You're building strength, your hamstrings, calves, and glutes. But again, if you can get the timing down too, it gets you closer to what you're looking for. It gets you close to that performance piece. So always be striving for that little bit of extra, make it your movement, find the intent of the movement. So this is my single leg hip bridge. So I've got my glute tuck again, all right? I can relax here if your neck gets tired, but I've got my glute tuck. I'm gonna use my neck flexion to help me with my core. Hands will be out on this one, so I'm nice and stable. Very similar to the one we just did, all right? So it's using that glute tuck that we built. I'm gonna drive my hips up, and at the end, pull through my calves, so up through my toes. Try to get that heel as close to your butt as you can on this one. That really gives us that drive at the top. So we're gonna reach and snap up. So initially up through the hips, the very top through the toes. And I'm trying to feel again this leg drive. So it's the pull of the hamstring that actually pulls through. So my hamstring and adductors pull through the pubic bone here into the other side. So this hip here will pull this hip through. And then at the very top, I roll into the inside edge of my opposite foot. So it's really close to what my body's got to go through when I'm running it, swinging back, throwing a ball. So again, peak set there, or if we could say like perceived exertion 7 to 8, we can say like 15 reps, get it burning, 2 sets or 2 rounds of that circuit. All right?